Welcome to Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help educate you about narcissistic abuse because your feelings do matter. Hi, and welcome to another podcast of Narc Abuse No More with your host, Dr. and Evangelist K.O. Rich. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is Monday. It is October the 10th of 2022. I pray that you've had a blessed, stress-free, narcissistic-free, abuse-free week so far, and that the remainder of this week will continue to be so as well. But if not, we're going to be talking about a few things today. Again, my name is Dr. K.O. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Yes, they do. But before we go on with today's podcast, I would like to invite you to visit us on our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Again, that website address is www.narcabusenomore.org, or you can type in narcissisticabusenomore.com. Again, that's narcissisticabusenomore.com. And on our website, you'll find valuable information regarding narcissism, relationships, and if you have missed any podcasts, you can go on our website and listen to us from there, or you can go to our other platforms. Now, just to let you know, we are on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Deezer. We're also on Castbox, and you can listen to us on YouTube, Rumble, as well as Amazon Audible. So if you have Audible, you can listen to us from there. Just put in Narcissistic Abuse No More. Again, that's Narcissistic Abuse No More. Now, let me just let you know, we're going to be updating some things on our website. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be updating that. I have a little break. For many of you who know, I'm working on my second doctorate, and it's in community care and counseling. I had said that I was like thinking about withdrawing because I was tired or whatever, but actually I'm switching programs. So I'm going to be switching to Bible exposition, which is basically being able to be a philosopher, theologian of the Bible. So I'll be switching to that program. But the thing is that there is so much that even with the Bible goes hand in hand with counseling. So you still will be getting this valuable information and everything. However, I just want to thank you all. First of all, I want to thank you all that send me emails. Some of you send me emails, you send me Facebook messages and let me know that this podcast is really blessing you, and I very much appreciate it. I try to get to my emails and send responses back, and if I have failed to do so, charge it to my head, not my heart. But I want to thank you all because it's inspiring to know that this podcast over the years has really blessed many of you. Many of you have told me about relationships that you were in that were abusive, and you was able to get the courage in order to be able to walk away from the abuse. And so I'm happy that this podcast has been a blessing to you. And I've had both men and women write in to tell me about situations that they're currently in, or they're getting out of, or they didn't get in because of listening to this podcast, and they knew what to look out for. So I just want to thank you for sending that in, and thank you for allowing me to come into your home in order to be a blessing to you. Now, sometimes if you follow me on Facebook, I give singles tips, and today's tip I had given was to know that person's mental health before you say I do. Because if you do not know what you're getting into before you say I do, guess what? You're in for a world of misery. And so today's podcast is 15 red flags to consider. And this is before you get married, before you date someone, if you think about getting into this relationship with someone or any type of relationship with someone, you can use these tags, these things that we're going to be coming to you from. Now, I just want to let you know that some people, we know the holidays are quickly approaching. Okay, Thanksgiving will be here next month. Then you got Christmas. Then you have New Year's. And let me just say this, please. And we're going to probably do a podcast on this. Don't settle because you don't want to be lonely. Don't settle for that. If you have to invite some people over just to have some people around, don't settle just because you feel like, oh, I'm going to be alone again for the holidays. Let me just say that one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm going to be hosting Thanksgiving dinner for single women who may not have anywhere to go. And so I'm hosting that for single women. So if you're in the Griffin, Georgia area, or the Atlanta area, and you need somewhere to go for the holidays, please send me an email. I also put it on my social media platform. Send me an email and let me know that, hey, I don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, and you would like to come, and we will. I give you at that time. I give you the phone number where you can call me. We can talk, and then go from there. So, but let me just say this, people, please don't settle for someone just to say I'm with someone for the holidays, because after that holiday is over, guess what? You got to be dealing with some issues. If you know that this person is not of quality, if you know that this person is not the one that you really should be spending time with, then you want to think about that before you say I do, or before you invest. Because anytime you're dating someone, anytime you are contemplating being in a relationship with someone, that's an investment. And you have to be careful with your investments, because stocks do crash. Okay? So let me just say this. Be careful with your investment. I'm talking about your heart. I'm talking about your emotions. Think about that before you get invested with this person. You might be saying, oh, this is just a holiday investment. And then it winds up being years of investment that you never intended. And you've wasted all this time, have suffered all this abuse because you compromised the investment. All right, your time, your emotions, your heart is an investment. All right, the Bible talks about to guard your heart. So we want to make sure that you guard your heart. You don't let anybody in. Okay, you don't let anybody in. How would you what would you do if a stranger just approached you? Let me get in your car. Give me your keys to your car. You'll be like, no, this is my investment. No, I don't just give my keys to anyone. So it's the same thing. Stop giving the keys to your heart to any and everyone. Guard your heart. So today we're talking about 15 red flags to consider. 15 red flags to consider when you are thinking about getting into a relationship with someone, or you even thinking about marrying this person. Some 15 red flags to consider. And this is some of these you can use for even just your everyday relationships with people. So number one is your partner is unpredictable or immature. This person that you are tying yourself to is unpredictable or immature. And as always, I like to give you a website to go to, marriage.com, and there's some valuable information on there that you can find, marriage.com. Now, your partner is unpredictable or immature. If you are, say for instance, okay, at my age, I'm 47. I don't need someone that's acting like they're 20, all right? And it's not about the age per se. say it's about the maturity level. If someone is very immature in a relationship, if they don't know how to manage their money, if they don't know how to pay their bills, if they don't know how to be financially responsible, or just responsible, just making plans for the future, as mature individuals, we're supposed to be at that point where we're making plans for the future. If they have no goals that they're actively reaching towards or whatever, then you need to know that you're with someone that is immature. Okay, we're not talking about age-wise. We're talking about their maturity level, because you can have someone that's 47 that act like they're 20 and they're very emotionally immature, or they 20 and they can act like they're 47. So you don't want someone that's emotionally immature or unpredictable. Number 2, another red flag is infidelity. And let me just say this is serious. If someone is cheating on you before you say I do, they're definitely going to be cheating on you afterwards. If they don't have a history of being able to be monogamous, then they're not going to all of a sudden become Mr. or Miss Monogamous in the relationship. All right. So a prelude of what you're going to get after the marriage is often what you see before the marriage. Okay. Do they have to go from this person to that person? They're constantly changing partners as they're changing sheets. Then something, literally in a sense, then something is wrong. Okay, they're not able to be faithful to one person. Were they married before and they cheated on that person while they were in the marriage? That's often a indicator that they may cheat on you. Did you get this person through them cheating with somebody else to get with you? And the way you got them is the way that you can keep them or lose them. All right, so make sure you take that into consideration. There have been couples who have had infidelity take place, and there has been forgiveness, and that person has not done it again. And then there have been couples that have had someone cheat on them where the person kept doing it because they were a habitual cheater. So this is a red flag, and definitely, if this has taken place before you have said I do to this person, then guess what? It's more than likely going to happen afterwards. Do not have a get out of jail free card when it comes to cheating. I often hear women say, oh, if he cheated on me one time, then I'll forgive him. Honey, don't get that card out before. No. If you can be faithful, so can he. All right. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the gander is good for the goose. So the thing is that you want someone that is going to be faithful. Those of us who are Christians, we are supposed to be, we're supposed to be celibate until God sends that person for marriage after you say I do. So if you are dating someone and that person is not celibate, but then you are, and you're saying that, I want to wait till marriage, and that person cannot wait till marriage, and then you find out that they're cheating with someone else, then guess what? That's a good indicator that they're not going to be faithful to you after the marriage. Number 3, you feel fear walking down the aisle, or you feel fear going into this relationship. That's a red flag to say something is not right. Something is telling you, maybe in your spirit, that, hey, something is not right with this individual, and you need to slow it down. You need to think about it. And let me just say this, as a Christian, as an evangelist, as a pastoral counselor, I suggest that you pray before you get into any relationship with someone. You definitely need to pray and ask God, is this the person you would have for me? Because guess what? God will let you know. Now, the thing is, you got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to hear. You got to be willing that if God say, no, this is not who I have for you, you got to be willing to be obedient and let that person go. Sometimes people get wrapped up in their feelings. Oh, but I love them, or whatever the case may be. But guess what? Your love for them is not going to make them not do things that that will be compromising or destructive in your marriage. So you want to ensure that you're in the right relationship, okay? And you don't want to be like Hollywood marriages that oftentimes don't last. All right, you see this one going with this one, next time you're there with somebody else, and this one, I mean, you just don't want that. I know I don't. Let me talk for myself. I know I don't. So the thing is that you want to wait until it's the right person. And if you feel anything, even if you're making wedding plans right now, if something tells you, if God tells you this is not it, cancel those plans. Cancel those plans, because he is looking out for your best interest and letting you know that something is not right. Number 4, you give up things that matter to you. Let me just say this. Be careful with someone who needs you to be their all in all, okay? And this, even when you get married, the two becomes one. But there is, let me use this as an example. I'm in ministry, okay? As many of you know, I'm in ministry, and I'm an evangelist, and you hear me oftentimes on one or two of my podcasts, this one and my It Is Finished End Times Ministries podcast, and I do evangelism and other things, okay? The thing is that if you are doing whatever God has for you to do, but that person comes in and wants you to stop and wants you to not operate up under the road, in the road that God has ordained for you to do, then something is not right. That person is not the right one for you. Now, you may make some adjustments because you are married, but just to say, oh, I'm not going to do the things that I'm supposed to be doing, that is not what the relationship should be about. Those of us who are Christians know that God wants us to have kingdom marriages, okay? It's all about the kingdom building, okay? Kingdom families, kingdom children, godly marriages, promoting the kingdom. So for those who say, well, you know what, I have to give up this and I have to give up that. Now, this is not to say that there won't be some compromise, some give and takes here and there, but that person should be an asset, not an obstruction in the relationship. Let me repeat that. That person should be an asset, not an obstruction in the relationship. So you all should be helping to promote and further each other, not someone feeling like, well, I had to give up everything and I got nothing in return or nothing out of it. You all should bothly have a mutual respect for the gifts, giftings, talents, and jobs that each of you do. Number 5, you always fight about something. If you're constantly bickering and arguing and you never can settle anything, and this is before you get into this relationship of marriage, then guess what is going to happen afterwards? And even if you are in a friendship with someone, if you're not gelling together and there's always competition, animosity, bickering and arguing and fussing and fighting, then something is wrong with that relationship. That's a red flag. All right, so the fighting is one of the red flags before a relationship. Especially, let me just say this: if this person has put their hands on you, if they are jealous, insecure, these are red flags that you need to pay attention to before you say I do. Oftentimes, people are so in a hurry to be coupled that they overlook the red flags that are saying, hey, look out. It's no longer even warning at this moment. They're not yellow, they're red. They're all out red saying, no, 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 something is wrong. No, no, no. And then you keep going anyway, and you wind up, what happens if you are driving a vehicle and you go, you see the light is red and you proceed anyway, and another vehicle is coming, you all more than likely may have a collision. And that's what a lot of times happens with relationships, is you see the red, but you go anyway, and then it winds up being a collision course. So you don't want to get into this. If you see red flags, the time to stop is before you proceed any further in that relationship. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
So long for this day to come. It's hard to believe that it's finally here. Yeah, I know a man ain't supposed to cry, but it's getting real hard to hold back the tears. Listen, when I see you walking down the aisle and you flash to me that gorgeous smile, listen, as you near, my heart skips a beat, and at the altar we finally meet, and I tell you, yes, I do promise to you, forever love you, I'll love and cherish you the rest of my days. Yes, always, this love that God has given makes life much more worth living. He's blessed us with a love that could only come from above. I've waited so long for this day to come. We'll be two hearts beating as one. You see, just how I feel. Saying I do, says it best. I can't wait to tell you. Yes, I do promise to love you, forever love you. I'll love and cherish you the rest of my days. It's always this love that God has given makes life much more worth living. He's blessed us with a love that's love we come.
Do you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward? The answer is, I do.
I do. I promise to love you. I promise to be good to you. I do. Oh, yeah. I promise to love you. I promise to be there for you.
Do you take this man to be your lawful wedded husband, to have and to hold, keeping only unto him? The answer is, I do.
I do promise to love you, Phil and Brenda Nicholas. All right, so we're talking about 15 red flags. Some red flags that you need to be looking out for in relationships. Number 6, poor communication. If you are not able to talk before you get into this relationship, if you're afraid to be open with the person, if you're afraid to tell them things, then guess what? That's a major problem. And a lot of times when you are in relationships, the breakdown of relationships is poor communication. So we definitely need to make sure that you're talking. Make sure that you are able to communicate with this person. Make sure that this person can sit down and actually listen, where you both, one person listens, the other one talks, and the one listens, and that you are on the same page and your wires are not being crossed, and that there is not miscommunication. So therefore, when you're able to clearly understand what the person is trying to say, instead of just silent treatment or just avoiding the issue, because even if you try to avoid the conversation, that conversation in some manner, in some way, is going to come back up again, and it may not be in the right way. Number 7, they make you feel bad about yourself. One thing when you're dealing with or in a relationship, you definitely don't want someone that's going to make you feel bad about yourself. When you're in a relationship, you want to be in a relationship where that person considers your feelings, where that person is not constantly criticizing and belittling you, and doesn't see the value in you. So therefore, you don't want someone that's constantly pulling you down, that's draining you, that's not cheering you on, that's not trying to help you to be a better person. That's in a relationship, in a marriage, you all should be trying to help each other to grow together, not apart. But that's what happens. You grow apart if the one person is not trying to help the other person to grow. So basically, you working against each other. If a person makes you feel bad about yourself, that is a serious red flag that you need to consider. Number 8, the person that you are invested in is not invested in you. If you are thinking about marriage, but that person is only thinking about the here and the now, well, guess what? Something's not gelling. Okay, so if you are, say for instance, okay, you a male, and you say, well, I want to have a wife, I want to marry, but then the lady that you are interested in, she's not thinking about marriage. She's only thinking about, hey, I'm doing me just right now. I'm not thinking about the future. So you all are on 2 different pages. So therefore, you want to get someone that is invested in your future, not just in the here and the now and just wanting a good time. And therefore, if that person is not invested in the future, and you're saying, hey, I want to be married, I want to have children, I want to get a house, I want to settle down, well, guess what? If you all are on 2 different pages, that is not going to work. That's a red flag. The Bible says in Amos 3:3, how can 2 walk together unless they have agreed to do so? So that is something that you definitely want to consider. Number 9, you have considerable doubts. Again, when you are in this relationship, you should be confident that this is the right relationship for you. But if you're having doubts, do not ignore those doubts. Okay, some people might say, oh man, it's just cold feet. No, if you are having doubts that this is the right one for you, take that into consideration. Seriously, think about it, pray about it, and make sure that you are not invested in the wrong relationship, because it's easier to cut the relationship off before you get tied up than to do it afterwards. So be careful. It's better even if you're at the aisle, even if you are in the wedding ceremony and God let you know, you better not say I do. You might say, well, all the people here, it's better to cut it before than to cut it afterwards. Okay, now you might still have to pay all them people the tips and all that kind of stuff for the venue. Hey, you can get out of that situation, but once you say I do, then that is it. Number 10, If you are dealing with someone who lack boundaries with their family members, how many people have had troublesome family members, in-laws, outlaws, mother-in-laws? So you want to make sure that this person has a healthy boundary when it comes to family. That means that they know that a mother is mother, but guess what? There is a boundary that doesn't cross when it comes to the wife, or vice versa, the husband, or whatever case may be. So you all need to talk about those things. And if you see that this person can never say no to their family members, then that's going to be an issue. Don't think it's going to just smooth over. If you know that that person has I'm going to say narcissistic family members that can be overpowering when it comes to being allowing this person to be independent of them, then that's going to be an issue. So you all need to set those boundaries before. If you see that that person can't set boundaries, that's a red flag to say that this is going to be problems in the future. No matter how much you love that person, if that person cannot set boundaries, healthy boundaries, when it comes to their family members' role in you all's lives, then that's going to be an issue. So that's something that you all definitely need to be discussing. Number 12, let me go back. Number 11, you have delusions about your partner. Some people feel like, oh, well, this is my white knight. Everything's going to be lovey-dovey. There's not going to be any issues. This is not a fairy tale, okay? Many people have that fairy tale. Oh, it's going to be love ever after. And let me just say this. Relationships take work. Relationships take work. Any relationship that you invest in, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a working relationships, anytime you're dealing with other people, it takes work. So just be sure that you do not have this delusion where there will never be any issues in the marriage, because if you're up under that delusion where everything is always going to be perfect, then you will be very disappointed. We all have flaws, okay? And that's the thing. We all have flaws. So that person has to learn to love and live with your flaws, and you have to do the same with them. But make sure that it's not something that's going to be compromising the integrity of your relationship. Number 12, you are sad. Do you often feel lonely within the relationship? Sometimes people are lonely in the relationship. You're with someone, but not with that person. You're with that person in name only, but you're not with that person. That person, when you're in a relationship, you should not be alone in the relationship. You should not be having to feel alone in the relationship. You all should have a meeting of the minds. You all should be working together towards things. And this involves what we talked about previously, communication. So if there's no communication going on and you feeling alone in this relationship, and you all haven't had a heart-to-heart talk, and things are not changing, then something is wrong in this relationship. And if this relationship is bringing you more sadness than happiness, then something is wrong in the relationship, and you do not need to pursue or move further until it gets resolved, or you just say, you know what, it's not going to get resolved, there's nothing there, it's not going to get better, so therefore I have to cut my losses. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I would like to take a moment and talk about something that needs a lot of attention these days, and that's a relationship between a husband and a wife. In this day and time, with the divorce rate at 50% and people are trading husbands and wives like you trade cars or something, we've got to do better. Many of us have children involved and they don't know which way to go between mom and dad. We got to hang in there. We need to show love, give a kind answer, know how to say I love you, I'm sorry. Remember those words? Now, when you first tried this, I know your husband or wife might say, okay, what you up to? I know you want something, that's why you're acting different. But as you continue to show love, love begets love. Try it. You know, many of us get married for the wrong reason. Ooh, child, don't he look good? He could be the worst thing in a pair of pants, you know that? It's not what's on the outside, it's what's in the inside, what's in his heart. That's what it's about. We gotta think about that. Think about our relationships, our families. I was watching a television program and they were interviewing a young lady. And she was upset because all of her classmates were making fun of her because she was 15 years old and a virgin. Where have we gone? It wasn't too long ago when if you were 15 years old and sexually active, you were the strange one. We as parents have to encourage our young people to save themselves for their marriages. First of all, we gotta live a life in front of them. Well, before I preach, let me get back to my subject. I think back on the time when I was praying to get married. And see, I believe it's until death do you part. So I didn't trust my decision because I could marry the woman and she could go crazy tomorrow. And I would just be there because see, I'm not going anywhere, you know? Well, I prayed and I prayed and I believe God opened up the windows of heaven. Let an angel out on loan for a while in the form of my wife, Brenda. We got married back in February of 1978 in a little church down in South Jersey. The snow was coming down real slow. We sung a song to each other, and right now, wherever you are, we want you to bundle up and travel back in time with us as we bring to you what happened that day.
The closer I get to you, the more you make me see. God's given us such a love, and it has captured me.
Over and over again, I prayed for one like you to be with me till the end. And all the while inside I knew he would hear, 'cause you're the answer to my prayer.
I'm thanking God for our love. Oh, thank you, Jesus, because it's like a dream come true. And I feel so full inside with love from God and you.
The sweeter and sweeter love grows, and heaven only knows the happiness we will share. You know I'll have a glimpse of heaven's joy, having you here by my side. Over and over again, I prayed for one like you to be with me till the end. And all the while inside I knew he would hear, 'cause you're the answer.
You're the answer to my prayer.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you,
I Get to You, and it's by Phil and Brenda Nicholas. All right, so we're wrapping things up. Number 13, your partner shows signs of being violent. This is so important. Many people have gone to an early grave because they ignored the signs of violence, or they did not leave when that person was violent. And some people try to leave and the person would still wind up pursuing them. However, your chances are best, even if you leave, it's best to get away from that abusive situation as safely as possible. And so any type of violence, and let me just say that this is non-negotiable. Any type of violence that person would do to you, your family, your friends, your animals, your children, do not marry that person. If that person hits you once, they will hit you again. If that person is controlling you, they will be controlling all throughout the relationship. If that person is jealous and they're insecure, they're going to be jealous and insecure all throughout your relationship. This is a definite red flag to not ignore. If you are feeling unsafe with this person before you get married to them, you're going to be very unsafe with them after you marry them. So be definitely careful about the person that you may be partnering up with that has a violent history. If they have a history that you know of being abusive, they get angry easy. I heard someone the other day say, if you want to know about somebody, about them, get stuck in traffic for 2 hours. And you know what? It's something to that, because if you have a lot of people that have road rage, and if they're flicking people off, cursing at them and everything, that says something about that person's character. Another thing, if you go to a restaurant and the person treats the waiter or the waitress as if they're beneath them, that says something about their character. If they don't leave that person a tip, that says something about their character. Come on now, there are so many things. Sometimes people, well, how would I know? There are a lot of different ways to know. You got to just take time. Don't be so in a rush to couple up that you ignore obvious signs that are out there. Okay, that's within this person. If this person has a history of beating up their family members, is someone right now that's running for office here in Georgia, and this person one of the exes, I don't know if it's true or not, they said that this person, was abusive, put a gun, I think the person put a gun, they say he put a gun up to their head or something like that. Anyway, I don't know if it's true or not, but let me just say this. It says a lot about a person if they can put a weapon up to you. If let me just say this: if a person puts a weapon to your head one time, that's one time too many. That is enough to say right there, never again. I'm gonna just let you know. You only got one time to put a weapon up to me, and then you don't have to worry about me even saying hi to you. That is it. All right, that is it. And you have to have this mindset. If a person can put a weapon up to your head, they can also pull the trigger. And I'm sorry. You forgive because God, that's one mandate from God. But forgiveness does not mean that you go back into the relationship with that person who has abused you. Again, many people are dead today because they went back to the individual when they were being abused, and this time they didn't make it out alive. So many cops have been called out to domestic violence situations, and the woman wound up going back. As most of the time it was the woman. The woman wound up going back, or either trying to keep the police from doing their job to take the man away after he just got done beating her. Okay, so this is something to make sure that you are aware of. And let me just say this: if you are in a a situation that is abusive and you know that, hey, I need help to get out, then let me just give you the information for that. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can go to their website at www.thehotline.org. That's www.thehotline.org. You can call them with 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. TTY callers 1-800-787-3224. You can also text the word START to 88788. Again, that's text the word START, START, to 88788. You are not alone. You do not have to go through this by yourself. Number 14. You're getting married because you believe your partner can fix you. Let me just say this. Nobody's meant to be a meat filler. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that, if you got holes everywhere, I am not there to fill in your holes, okay? This means that if you're thinking that someone is going to be your savior, there's only one savior, and that's Jesus Christ. All right. And he's the only one that can save you. So you want to make sure that you're emotionally whole before you get with someone, and then you wind up dragging all your baggage onto that innocent individual and whatever baggages they got. Make sure that you all have gotten the counseling. We all got things that we might deal with, but there are some people that are really, really damaged. And so therefore, if you know that you got a whole bunch of issues, you got trust issues, you got male issues, you got daddy issues, whatever the case may be, make sure that you are whole before you get with someone, and then you wind up breaking the relationship down because of your insecurities, because of your issues. If you have insecurity issues, go to counseling. Deal with those issues before you get in a relationship, and then you can have a good person in the relationship, but you wind up messing up the relationship because of your issues, your unresolved issues. So this is something that's important to do, is to make sure that you know that a person can't fix you. You need to, first of all, pray, talk to God, go to counseling. Work on yourself before you get involved in a relationship. Number 15, your partner has addiction problems. Addiction, it has so many different consequences when it comes to addiction. And that is something, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pornography. If that person has any type of addiction such as that, and you know about it, this is something that person needs to work on before you can really pursue a happy relationship with them. Because if you marry an alcoholic and they are still abusing alcohol, now people can recover, but I'm talking about if they're still actively abusing alcohol, then that's going to cause a problem in the relationship. Because oftentimes people that are abusive, that are alcoholics, can sometimes tend to be abusive. Okay, so that's another issue. Not only the alcohol, but the abuse, the finances. There's so many things that go with that. So you want to ensure that person, if a person is addicted to pornography, guess what? You're gonna be the second spouse, or should I say the more like the mistress rather than the spouse, because that person's first go-to is going to be the pornography. So then that puts you on the back burner. Make sure that you deal with these things before you say I do. And you might say, well, how do I find out all these things about this individual? I will tell anyone, go to counseling, a good counselor, and you be honest with that counselor. A good counselor, you say, hey, I need to know before we even get involved, with certain things, and you might have seen some warning signs, and you might say, you know what, I need to investigate this. I need a second set of eyes. If you know some of the people exes, what would they ex say about this person? Have they ever been abusive to them? Have there been some questionable things? Have they ever been unfaithful? You can learn a lot about people by listening to what they say. I'm not just talking about, you will have some people that may be haters, but I'm talking about for the most part, what type of character does this person have? How, what would people on the job say about them? Be around people that they know so then you can learn who this person really is that you are investing in. All right. We are up out of here. I pray that today's podcast has been a blessing to you. Let me just say this, people. You know what? When I bring these podcasts, I like to bring podcasts that I believe are going to help people to be better people, to help people to have healthy relationships, because there's so much toxicity around here. There's so much hatred and just devaluing, and so many people that are traumatized and dealing with various issues. Some people are dealing with PTSD and PNSD. We talk about post narcissistic stress syndrome, and there's just so much that is in life that people, you want to have the healthiest, the best relationships with people that you possibly can. And you want to be at peace. The Bible talks about being at peace with all men as much as possible, as it relies on you. Some people you just can't be peaceful with, and so therefore you may have to go low contact, no contact, disconnect ties because the person is so toxic. But then if you want to be in a healthy relationship, you also have to ensure that you're in a relationship with someone who is also healthy. A negative times a positive does not produce a positive. All right. So you want to ensure that you get the help that you need. That person, if they know that they need help, that they get the help that they need. And take your time. Again, don't settle just because you're saying I'm lonely. I want, it's better to have a piece of someone than no one. Hey, to have a piece of a cake does not mean you have the entire cake. All right. So the thing is that you want to be involved in healthy relationships, have a healthy mindset, have a healthy disposition, be around those that support and challenge you to be the best person that you can be. And when you do that, the rest is up to God. And you just pray that God will give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in order to have healthy relationships. And most important, the best relationship that you will ever have is with God. And when you have a healthy relationship with God, He will not allow you to be blinded by any type of dysfunction. All right, we are up out of here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse. This is Dr. Rich. Until next time.